This is Deb Fennema. Deb is a member. I don't know if you're all the ways you serve at your church right now, but she is at Racine CRC and is a delegate from Classis Wisconsin to Synod this year. So when I read her little resume at the Classis meeting, I thought we better talk to Deb. So Deb's got a lot of cool background in ministry. We are fellow Tedians. I don't know if that's a thing. But Deb is what I want to be. She's graduated from TEDS with her MDiv, and so we've talked a little bit about people in common before we hit record, and I'm sure we'll run out of time, so I'll turn it over to you, Deb, to share about your background and how we ended up here.
Okay. Yeah, I am, in fact, a fellow TEDS. Well, I'm an alumna. You're not quite there yet, but no. I loved my time there, and I took a few classes at Calvin Sem as well. I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I taught in Clinton, Ontario, which was very good for a young kid. You know, it was a broadening experience. We lived a couple years in Buffalo, New York. And from there, we moved to the Hyde Park area of Chicago and were members at Pullman CRC. So that also just kind of expanded my knowledge. And that's where I first became acquainted with the Coffee Break Ministry and was part of the program there. From there, we moved to the Kenosha area, and then Kenosha, we were members there for about 20 years, and I was on staff there. And that's where I started going to Trinity. My goal was to be a better Bible study leader. So first, I thought to do that, maybe I should take some Greek. So I took Greek at Carthage College, and then everybody in my class, a very small class, about half of them were Christians and the other half weren't, I would say, which was also kind of a surprise to me. They were all going to seminary. I'm like, seminary? Cool. Well, maybe I should investigate that anyway. So I looked into Trinity, and, you know, they were within driving distance. That was about all I knew about them. But I made work of going there. And my thought at first was, well, I'll take a few classes and just see. You know, I took music directing and drama and I think apologetics at first. And then, just loved it. And felt when I was on that campus, I just felt a clear sense that this is exactly where God wanted me to be. Now, I never sought ordination. I didn't really need it for any of the roles I had. I was on staff at Kenosha CRC for about, several years. And I also worked as a chaplain at the Cancer Hospital in Zion, Illinois, CTCA, for 11 years. And at that time, they didn't require ordination, so I didn't really need it. But that's a little bit about my background. So during that time, I led coffee break groups. And then when I was taking Hebrew, we had to translate the book of Jonah. I thought, oh, this would make a fabulous Bible study, guide. So I contacted the people, and I don't usually stick my neck out much like that. But I contacted the coffee break people and I said, what do you think about, maybe we should do Jonah, and maybe I could write it because I just love that idea. And they said no. But a while later, I didn't even know how long later, they contacted me and asked if I'd be interested in writing 1st and 2nd Peter. So that began my career of writing Bible study, and I had done that for several years. I probably wrote maybe 8 of the study guides. Wow. And then there's revisions, and there's reviewing and slight bit of editing. So there's a whole lot of different pieces you can imagine that can go into that. So I was active in that. And then all of a sudden it kind of came to an end. I don't know why. I don't think that they asked me to do something I was too busy to do it. Maybe that was it. Anyway, but then I got a call. Would I be interested in writing again? And this was about a year ago. And I said, well, yeah, I would. So here I am.
We should back up a little bit and share what coffee break is, because both of us are currently sipping coffee, but we don't just mean grabbing a cup of coffee on the couch. It's a program, and you would know more than me, but of the CRC, specifically for ladies, in my experience. I don't know if that's part of the vision, but
I think originally it probably was intended more for women, but there are a lot of men who also use the material. Coffee Break is intended to be an outreach program,
Mhm.
but it has the kind of the twin goals of transforming lives within the church as well.
Yeah.
It's an inductive Bible study, and it's quite different. I've done a lot of Bible studies, as you can imagine. It's different in that you're interacting directly with the material, and it's a discussion-based format.
Okay.
And the questions that the study guides have are very simple. They just go through the scripture and just making sure that the person has to read the text in order to understand what the text is saying. And then of course, there are interpretation questions and application questions that go along with it, but the study guides are more on that basic level. And it's just so much fun to lead because you could just get a wonderful discussion going. And it's not about the discussion. I mean, that's part of the fun,
Sure.
but the end result is,
Yeah.
of course, gospel transformation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit before we hit record that this request in the last year is kind of part of a new direction for this Coffee Break ministry. You want to share a little bit about what that is?
I do, because it is so exciting. The way it was explained to me, and I never wrote down all the facts, but they have received a grant, a 3-year grant that started in February of 2022, and it will extend for 3 years to essentially rewrite or revise or start from scratch most of the studies that are currently published. And some new ones. I think they're doing some new ones as well. And
Now
the reason,
that would include your stuff, right?
oh yeah, they're constantly revising.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything I wrote that has stood the test that they don't ever go back and revise.
So
It's true for
how involved are you in those revisions?
not at all.
Interesting.
Not at all. And if you look at if you ever get your hands on one of the Coffee Break
I'm sure we've got
study
it.
guide, in the cover, it'll list way back to Neva Evenhouse, Edie Badgema, the people who originally wrote material.
Interesting.
So yeah. The reason that they're doing that is because they're finding that there are people all over the world who are using these studies. And I asked for a list of the languages, and some you would expect: Spanish, Korean, Thai, Hindi, Japanese, Czech, Nepali, Tagalog, Portuguese, Taiwanese, and Chinese.
Wow.
Yeah. And the material that I finished in February on the Gospel of Mark is already being translated into Nepali and Khmer.
Wow.
Which is the language used in Cambodia and probably other places. But
that is cool to think about.
I mean, it's astonishing. I mean, that's a reason any writer should want to get on board. I mean, you don't get an opportunity to be, a little cog in the wheel here, back here in, America, and influencing the world in that little way.
Sure.
It's just so.
And probably something you never dreamed of, and that's God gives you more than you could ask or imagine. You were interested in writing a curriculum for these people you were meeting with, and maybe some more would be interested, and all of a sudden it's going around the world.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're working on Mark now.
No, I finished Mark.
You finished Mark already.
I finished Mark. Yeah, I just started on the Book of Acts because that was kind of the natural sequel, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'm just on lesson 1 of the Book of Acts.
What have you found in the Book of Acts that's compelling?
I don't know. I'm still in the first chapter.
Oh, fair enough. There's some compelling things in the first chapter of Acts, though.
There are, yes. I mean, it lays out the whole book right there in verse 8, I think it is. I think because this has a worldwide focus, I think that seeing that that's God, that was always God's intent, and then seeing how that plays out in the Book of Acts, I think that's going to be a very compelling story for people. I think.
Here's just a weird thing that I've thought through before. In Revelation, which is a particular area of interest for me, when the nations come back with tribe and tongue and language, back to Babel, which is often a Pentecost connection. The confusion of the languages is like a curse on the people for pride. But it's interesting how God takes what was once a curse and then turns it into something beautiful at consummation, when it's like, do people lose their language and their culture and their ethnicity when they come back together? No, they maintain it. And the nations come in. And so it's like what we kind of messed up, God just totally redeems. And it's like, here the kings of the nations bring in their best. And it's like, what? How could that be possible? Just the scope of redemption is just so much more than we could ever imagine.
And isn't that just like God, right?
Yeah.
To take our pieces and redeem them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, Deb, how could we be praying for you or for Racine CRC?
Well, especially in the writing process, we're trying to reach two extremes of people. And so questions that were very North American, and commentary that was very North American in scope. Now we have to imagine people who may be even illiterate in their own languages and won't have television, may not have pen and paper. How do we ask them to respond to these questions to the Bible? I mean, we have to kind of rethink the way we write the whole book. So, but at the same time, we realize that we have a lot of mature Christians who are using the material, and we don't want to slight them. So we have kind of a two-pronged approach. So I think that we be wise in the way we write and edit, and always remember that what we're looking for is a response to the gospel message and for transformed lives. That's the writing part. Our church, Racine Christian Reformed, is going to be doing a Thriving Essentials seminar soon, and we're very excited about that. And I don't know how much you know about that.
Nothing.
Okay, well, we'll probably run out of time to tell you, but and one of the things I am particularly hoping to get out of it is a more a vision that everyone can wrap their minds around and articulate. And part of that is discerning where God is already at work. What has he brought to our church? Yes, we've lost people through COVID, but he's brought new people, new families to our church. And it's especially fun because they're not Christian Reformed, and so this is going to be just a fun, the next 5 years, decade are going to be just an interesting time in the life of the church. And it has to do with leadership. I mean, there's 4 different components to it. I won't go into it all, but that's good. This could be kind of a, I don't know about a turning point. That's probably not quite the right word, because I think we're in a good direction, but just kind of a refining of the direction of.
If people were interested in finding those materials you've written over the years, is there a place where that's all cataloged?
I think probably, well, the publishing house used to be Faith Alive, and now I don't know. I think I found it. Well, you could Google my name and find some of it on Amazon.
It's on Amazon? That's cool.
Just a little bit. I don't probably overstock or something. I don't know. But I think that if you were to look into Coffee Break on the CRCNA website, you could get at it from there. I don't know the direct way. Give me. I don't have to order.
If I can find it, I will link it in the description of however you're consuming this media, you dear viewer, and I'm sure we'll all be blessed by it.
I think so.
Thanks, Deb.
You're very welcome. It was a delight chatting with you.